Okay, I pushed the button.
Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sadaka, and I am founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network. And you are listening to WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And the show is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living. And we have a wonderful guest with us today, who I'm very excited about. And she comes all the way from the Netherlands to talk to you about a topic that is so important, and that has to do with what's really best for the kids, because too often, as you know, parents and co-parents forget the kids in the process, and that makes life really challenging. So we want to dig in and learn from Ann Buiskool. And Ann Buiskool lives has an unconventional divorce she's an unconventional divorce mediator and coach who specializes in helping parents create a respectful divorce. She works with parents who want a respectful divorce, not only for the children, but also for each other. And they may start the process with friction and dissatisfaction, but with positive intention from both parents, they can achieve positive results. Anne has written a new book, recently translated into English, titled, How Do We Tell the Children? Respectful Divorce as a New Beginning. I've read it, and it's an excellent, excellent book. She provides 7 steps through the compass of respect for couples to work with. And she's also a master of divorce ceremonies, which helps with the transition from being partners to co-parenting parents. And this is a very interesting process that we'll talk about. On a deep level, she helps parents sever the ties of attachment, get in touch with thankfulness never previously expressed, and finding ways of respectfully proceeding as co-parents before, during, and long after the ceremony. So I want to welcome Ann Buiskool to our show today. Thank you, Ann.
Hello. Thank you for being in the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So again, we're talking about taking the steps from moving from partners to co-partners in parenting, and I really love that concept. So let's start by asking you what brought you on the path of helping parents divorce in a more respectful way.
Well, I've been doing different things. I've been an art therapist and working in different places. And I was with the father of my daughter, and about 15 years ago, we split up. And to make a jump, when our daughter was 17, she told us, well, thank you, because you did a great job. And I know well, we didn't do it all good, and we fell and we stood up again, and she certainly has things that she just didn't like and weren't good for her. But and now I can see in the process from 15 years ago until now, we really did a good job. And when I became a mediator in 2010, I didn't know I was like a mediator. But then I specialized, and the specialization became more focused on really parents that want to do good for the children and also for each other. So
yes, an important distinction.
Yes, because, well, sometimes people come and they're really fighting, and even if they're fighting and they really want to do a different thing, I can help them. But if they're fighting and they want to be right, I just help them to find someone else.
I appreciate that. I think that's a good way of letting people know when they're off track. So I know you have a special way of working. Let me ask you about that. What is it that you do that's different from so many other people?
Well, let's start to say that everyone is different, and I believe very much on that. We attract the people that we can help.
Mm-hmm.
So what I can say is that I work with, well, we all know about guilt and shame, and that a lot of parents feel guilty or ashamed, either because things they did or said, or either to the children because of the divorce or the separation. And when we go to the place that we go back to that moment, uh, is it true that we could have done it differently? So I help parents to understand that they don't have to feel guilty about nothing, and that they can feel I did everything I could at that time. And the moment you really start to realize that you did everything you could, you can start to take responsibility.
Ah, and that's an important point.
Yes,
That's
because
wonderful. It just is a release and relieves people on so many levels, I would imagine.
yeah, and that's going from the realization you're not guilty, to seeing that the things you did or said or didn't do certainly made someone else feel pain. So if
Mm-hmm.
you realize that what you did, even if you didn't do it on purpose or you were not conscious about it, even after that, even after years, you can start to take responsibility, which can look like, listen, Marie, I now see I said this and this to you, and I behaved like this. At that moment, I didn't see what it did with you, but now I can see it. I can really feel that it hurted you, and I want to say sorry. But this sorry has to come from a place, um, after guilt and shame, after pride, after I want to get rid of this feeling. So it needs a little process to come there.
I love that. Such an important point. Owning your responsibility and what you did in the past, and acknowledging it, especially to your children. It makes all the difference in the world. And it also serves as such a wonderful role model for them. If
Yes.
my parents can apologize for something, then I can understand that I can do that too, because we all make mistakes.
Thank you for this. Yeah, this is good. This is really, yes, this is it.
So I want to get into what you do that is different from anything I've heard about in the United States. And I'm very, very impressed with the concept of divorce ceremonies. Tell me about what you do and the value of considering doing that.
Mm. Well, I have a past with ceremonies from, I loved ceremonies, a great part of my life. I learned it from the Lakota Sioux Indians, some ceremonies. I was asked by people for divorce or for a child that didn't live anymore, and we had to make a ritual. So I know when I saw a film that in Japan there are divorce ceremonies, it really hit me. It really, I felt, oh, but this is something I want to give, because it is on a deeper level a way of saying thank you, but also the strings that are attached that need to be loose, or how do you say that?
Severed, yes.
Yeah, because it has to do with the partnership, and as long as the things that are attached on the partnership and the fear or the anger, it comes into the relationship as parents, and the children will feel it, will know it, will have a problem with it. So when I saw these Japanese divorce ceremonies, I started reading, I started connecting to people. I even have now someone from the university, one of the universities in the Netherlands, that is studying divorce ceremonies, and he wants to develop a training with me. So what I do to come to be practical is, whenever parents feel they want to do a ceremony, because it has to come from the parents. It has to really be an intrinsic, or how do you say,
Innate.
a motivation. Yes. So only people come here to do that when they want to do that. And I think the ceremony is as important as the time before the ceremony, because then I have a list of questions that both give answer to, and I have a meeting 2 or 3 times before the ceremony. And in those meetings, things come on the table that maybe never been talked about, or There can be gratefulness, but it can also be things that never have been said.
And
So,
I imagine real emotional healing for both partners.
yes. Yes, so it's beautiful to see that it's softening. There's more understanding, and there's also, because I focused on the children as well, and there's also more a realization of what they take in the future, how they want to be together, and how they want to form a place for their children that they still feel safe. Okay, Papa and Mama are. Or mom and dad, I don't know how you say it in the States, are not anymore together as beloved, as husband and wife, but they always stay together as parents.
Yes.
They're always there. And I know some parents need a little distance. Other parents need first the distance, and then they say, well, we'll find a new way. So everyone has to look for their own way. But if the focus is, I want to be on the graduation of my child together with you, and that they don't have to look for, where do I have to go first to mama, because they don't talk to each other.
Yes.
So really focusing on what are the moments that we are together there for the children. This is one of the things I'm taking with it. And it depends on the parents. Some parents are already ready to do this step, and they think of their own ceremony. I just had a couple that had their marriage ceremony translated into their divorce ceremony.
Wow.
So they took some of the things that they did there again in the divorce ceremony. I had beautiful pictures of it.
Isn't that interesting? So are there other people there to witness this divorce ceremony, or is it just the two people and you?
Well, it depends completely on the parents. The last two parents, they didn't want the children there, and I've been talking about this with several people, and it can be also very nice to have the children, but it depends on what they want and what they can. Because if you're still in the mourning part, in the grieving, it might be more difficult. And what do you want to give to the children? But also, like in Japan, the whole family can be there to witness that there is a change of form of the relationship.
Which is exactly what's happening, and which is one of the messages that in my own book and work, it's so important. We are still a family, we'll always be a family, but the form has changed, but mom and dad will always be your parents and always love you.
Yes.
And that's so comforting for children to understand and to grasp. And any way we could translate that into kids getting that on a deep, heartfelt level is going to make a difference for them.
Yes.
Well, I'm very impressed with this concept. I think it's beautiful. I would love to see this introduced in the U.S. and other places, because there's sound, emotional, and psychological principles behind it that really make sense. And I would imagine the couple after this experience are much more ready to engage in successful co-parenting strategies. They've come this far, they've acknowledged one another, that they're ready to move on. They're out of their romantic relationship, but they're never going to be out of their co-parenting relationship, and they want to do their best in that capacity, correct?
Yes, that's true. And it needs a willingness to see that we can learn and that we can keep on learning.
Yeah. And
I mean,
that's the challenge.
Yes, often parents are like, what are we going to tell the children about coming to me, to the mediation? And then I say, well, they go to school, just tell them you go to school. And that's also an opening to understanding that you can look at life as an ongoing process of learning, playing, falling down, standing up again. So that's where my invitation goes in mediation and in the divorce ceremony.
I love it. I'm going to stop you here for just a moment because we have to take a break. You've been listening to WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network, Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sadaka, and our wonderful guest, Ann Buiskool, and we will be right back. Welcome, everyone. We're back to WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network, Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sadaka. And we've been talking to mediator from the Netherlands, Ann Buiskool. She's also the author of a wonderful book titled, How Do We Tell the Children? Respectful Divorce as a New Beginning. Love that. And we just discussed divorce ceremonies, but I want to talk further with Ann about some other important points that all co-parents care about. Briefly, can you address for us some of the reasons why parents lose their focus on the well-being of their children before, during, and after the divorce?
Yeah. Well, whenever people ask me the questions, there's also always another answer because there's so many aspects on this. But what I now have to think of is that we all come back from, we all have a background, and the father and mother, or mother and mother, or father and father, or however the family is founded, have different backgrounds. And like when you were born in a very religious family, or, well, we can all imagine there are so many differences. And when we meet each other, we just meet the essence of someone. We fall in love with that person. But the moment, I always say, when the honeymoon part is over, then also the patterns and the survival mechanisms are starting to run. And what I see is that I have to ask you the question again, so to make the circle. Your question again was
how do parents lose their focus on the well-being of the children?
Yeah, so one of the important things is that they come in the patterns, in their own patterns, and often they are like a child themselves. The things are touched that are from the child pain. So they want to have the focus on the kids, because if you hear every parent that says, we want a divorce and we want it good for the children, everyone says it, everyone wants it. But the patterns hold us back from that. It's unconscious. It's not on purpose.
Yeah. So, and that's where our work gets more challenging.
Yes, and also that is like when we were talking about guilt and feeling that you did everything you could. With this, it's the same. You try what you can and what you have, what you're able to. And if someone tells you, okay, it's okay, this is what you have, this is the pattern that's running, are you willing to look at it? Do you want something different? Are you willing to look at that you can develop something that is better for the children? So, and that has to do with self-care. It has to do with reflection. It has to do with, can you see that the other person, the other parent is, or ex-partner or to-be ex-partner, is also trying his or her best, which is sometimes very difficult to see.
Yes.
Because you look at you're looking at the patterns.
That's very beautifully put, and I so appreciate your pointing that out. I want to make sure that we talk about your book. So why don't you tell us a little about your book? And I understand there are exercises in it. I'd love to learn about what those are, how they are given to us.
Yes. Well, maybe I should just take a little note of the book, how it started, how it starts, and where it is about. We have like 7 steps. I just briefly tell about them. The divorce announcement from parents to each other, which I think is very important. The dealing with the emotions and feelings, the things that you see, that you are feeling and seeing happening, to understand that and ask for help. So that's The third one is asking for help, preparing together, telling the children together. And there's also a part that if you cannot, how to do it on your own, and then shaping the divorce, and then short-term and long-term aftercare. That's the, let's say, where the book is about. And there's also then a special extra chapters with the same issues, but also like changing in the family system, ages, loyalty conflicts, pain, sadness, shock, and trauma, and love and pain in relationships, which should have been the first chapter, but because the parents are in such a, there's so much happening when you're going to divorce, I decided to put that at the end of the book. But it's a very important chapter, which, by the way, is written by the father of my daughter. So we still work together.
And that's wonderful too.
Yes, that's very thankful.
You're living what you're writing. So what kind of examples do you have in the book, exercises rather, that you have in the book?
Yeah, each chapter has an exercise, and there's some more, and I would like to just read one, and I take the most difficult one. I think it's the most difficult from the whole book, but at the same time, we can all feel that this is really important, can be really important for the children. It's called Your Children's Bedrooms. That's the exercise. It can provide a different perspective if, before you talk to each other, and the days before the talk, each other that each of you sits down in the children's bedrooms when they are at school. Just sit down, look around, and step into your children's shoes. It can be quite unconventional doing this. This exercise is meant to give you as vivid an idea as possible about your children's emotions and feelings, in addition to your own perspective on the divorce with your own emotions and feelings. See if you can allow the feeling that comes up. It can be difficult because your choice to divorce causes pain in your child. But accepting these feelings makes it easier to empathize with your children. If you find this helpful, then you can do this in all your children's bedrooms. Accepting your pain, as described in chapter 4, makes it easier to take responsibility for your children. After visiting your children's bedrooms, take the bookmark with the compass of respect. And that's another part of the book. I have 2 bookmarks in the book, and that's they can help with respect. Am I doing this respectfully for myself, for the children, for the other parent, for the family? And so all the words of RESPEC are helping to, in any moment, to stay in line.
Yes, I love the fact that you choose to use the word respect through the book and as part of your title. It's a really key word for families who are dealing with divorce, because without that element, things go askew, things just turn off, and the parents are in battle and conflict, the children are in conflict, feeling guilt, shame, and all kinds of emotions. Everything is thrown off course without respect, and respect is what brings everyone and everything together. It guides you in making conscious decisions that are going to be in the real well-being of your children. So thank you for making that such an important point in all of your work. I wanted to ask you, what do you do with parents who are not taking responsibility and want to point to the other parent as the problem? We all hear that in our work.
Yes. When they keep on doing that, I just point out that I'm going to help them find someone else. But most of the time, I always take the picture. I always ask them to take the pictures from the children with them, physical pictures, and I put them on the table. So the moment, whenever something is painful or they want to point to each other, I ask them to look to the pictures together. And most of the time there are tears or there's something's happening. And that makes them aware of, okay, I don't know how, I don't know, I really don't know, but, and then it stops somewhere. It stops and we can have a look, a new look. Okay, who do you want to be for your children? Okay, do you want a responsibility? Take responsibility for your own behavior. And also, even if one of the two is taking the responsibility, the whole system is changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's really important to remind our listeners that even if only one parent is taking responsibility, it does make a shift in the outcome for everyone involved, thank God.
Yeah, well, I just talked about that with someone, that even if you have like someone who becomes psych, I don't know the word, is really ill, one of the parents is
Psychotic,
really, yeah,
or yes.
yes, even then, if you fight that, you're in a fight together.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask someone to help you, how can I deal with this? Then everything shifts.
Yes. And asking for help is a mature, responsible adult way of coping with issues that are beyond you. There's nothing to be ashamed of to ask for help. None of us are prepared for divorce. None of us got married expecting it. And it's a time when we're thrown off course. So reaching out for help is really a wise decision because it could expedite, simplify the process so much more for everyone involved, don't you think?
Yes, very much. I have like 30 examples of why people do not ask for help in the book. And also 30 examples of why people ask for help. So when you look at those 2 pages with all the 30 reasons, you become aware, suddenly you become aware of the possibilities of asking for help, and also why we don't ask for help. That is not because we don't want, because there's so much cultural and fear and shame and guilt.
Yes. I wanted to stop before we reach the end of our time to remind everyone again that we're talking to Anne Buiskool. Is that the way to pronounce your name, Anne?
Well, here in the Netherlands we say Buiskool.
Okay. So it's Buiskool. That's the important thing. And she is in the Netherlands, but she's translated her book into English for us. And I'm so grateful that she has, because it's an outstanding book. And it's titled, How Do We Tell the Children Respectful Divorce as a New Beginning? And it really is a new beginning if we treat it that way and get together that way. On the website for the station, we will have a link to her website so that you can click and purchase this book, because it will give you so much guidance, and you could tell from Anne's personality the flavor of her compassion and passion about this topic. And that's why the book is such an effective one, based on experience as well as great knowledge and expertise. So in our time,
and there is a free book. There's a free book.
And there's a free book as well that you can get on the website. So if you want a sample of a taste of it, then she has that as well. Thank you for reminding me. So in the time that we have left, what takeaway do you want our listeners to have? What's most important for them to remember from our conversation today?
Well, just before starting the conversation, I found it's not my own. It's someone we all, well, most of us know. It's Abraham Maslow, and I love the quote: in any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth, or to step back into safety.
Yes, and so we are talking about making responsible parental decisions that take us into growth.
Yes.
And when we're doing that, we're role modeling for our children ways to be effective, responsible, mature adults. and as challenging as it can be through any part of the process before, during, or long after divorce. We all know it's not a simple thing. We certainly want to remind you that your children are watching and learning from you, and so you want to be role models. And what are you finding that happens after people work with you?
Well, the first word that comes up, they're happy. And a lot of time, I like to have also jokes and a light way of working. So we do a lot of things that we have to joke about. I made a lot of mistakes. If I make it heavy, we can also look at it lightly, and that's the way I work. So most of the people, even if it's quite tough, they go out of the door or sit in the table like, okay. And it doesn't make heavy, it makes lighter.
This wasn't so bad. We could get through this and we could make something good from this.
Yeah, and sometimes it is heavy. Also, that is a part that has to be acknowledged.
Sure.
The shadows. We need to look at the shadows.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure talking with you, Anne. And again, I recommend that you go to the website to check out her book, at least pick up the free book and get familiar with the wonderful work of this very compassionate woman who's working as a mediator and helping families. And you could help them anywhere around the world. You're not limited just to the Netherlands, right?
No, that's right. The mediation itself is not possible to do that overseas, but helping after divorce, helping to look at what you're encountering. We do Zoom and Skype calls.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Well, thank you again. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and I'm going to say Anne Buiskool, and you'll forgive me for mispronouncing your name.
It's okay.
So, thank you again. It's been a very wonderful, enlightening conversation. This is Rosalind Sedaka, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and you can find my work at childcentereddivorce.com. And you've been listening to the Going Solo Network, excuse me, WGSN-DB, and the program, of course, is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living. I hope you'll join us next time. Bye-bye for now. Okay, you can unrecord.